Hello, I'm Kyle Dix, Customer Success Team Lead. I'm here with Chris Bertle from Capio Recruitment. Before we dive in, could you start by introducing yourself and telling us a bit about Capio Recruitment and your role there?
Yep, sure. So we are a professional services agency based in Bristol with 3 core markets in financial planning, insurance and legal recruitment. About 25 heads at the moment, and then looking to grow in a sustainable way over the next, into the future, basically. So we were with Vincherry at the time. I'd previously been on Bullhorn and definitely knew my way around the system with Bullhorn. We assessed it over quite a long period of time as to whether or not we were going to stay with them or we were going to look to move, and it kind of got to a point where you get to a certain size, and obviously the migrations are going to become more and more complex. We wanted to find the right partner that we were going to be able to scale with, and I guess was evolving at a rate that was seemingly in tandem with what was happening in the market from an AI point of view as well. So I just felt at the time that it was going to be the right it was the right time for us to make that move. Really little, but something that stood out for me that we couldn't do in the old system was just being able to filter by postcode begins with. Okay. Right. And I know that seems really, really simple, but when you've got a consultant who's working in a region and that's they're specializing in, say, dealing with law firms and you can obviously rejig the regions as you grow, but you generally do that by a group of postcodes. And so when you say to a consultant, this is your region, and you can't filter clients, you can't filter contacts to be able to then go, here is a prospect list that you can go for. It makes it really, really complicated. You can do a radial, but the radial then brings in all these other ones. You're like, oh no, not those. So with different systems, you would come up against things where you're like, can it do that? No, or you can do these things, but it can't do that. And I just felt like when I did the demo and every question that I was throwing at Mercury, it's like, yep, we can do that, yep, we can do that, yep, we can do that. So it just, from when we reviewed the things that were important to us, it came out quite far ahead of the other systems. You've got new people coming into the recruitment industry all the time. It's not an industry for the faint-hearted, and therefore you get new people and leavers and stuff. And there is a constant need to upskill and develop, or read. You're inducting new people onto a system all the time. So having that person that's on site to be able to come down and say, right, they're struggling with this. Can you run through this because I don't have the time or whatever, is helpful because it's just another person who's an expert in the product that can give you that additional support. I really like the dashboards. That's
you are data driven.
Yeah. So for being able to really seamlessly get into and drill down into quite important data, and I'll give a really good example. So we've just had the painful experience of a LinkedIn renewal because we get to the end of our 3-year term. Because you're weighing up, am I investing into LinkedIn jobs or am I investing into Indeed jobs versus the Indeed CV license? And a lot of business might not necessarily track that. But I was on the phone with them at the time, and they're like with another partner that I was hoping to do the contract through, and they're just like, so how much are you making on the CV licenses versus the applications? And I was like, I can tell you. Hang on, just go into the dashboard. Okay, great. I can click on revenue by source. Indeed, drill down, shortlist method, boom, it's just there straight away. Applications, then we make this on applications, this via the CV license. And so from I think operationally, that part of the system is really, really helpful if you get it set up, correctly. You're operating in basically 2 different systems. Or the consultants are, and you've got no visibility, and that's not getting tracked. But one of the biggest advantages for us to moving across was you've got in-mails being tracked back into the system, so everyone can see it. So that's seamless. You can in-mail directly from Mercury, and being able to then see candidates that are actually within the system, and on LinkedIn when they're open to work, effectively turns our system into a live feed of candidates that are now open to work. So we're able to now really start to, I guess, it is improving the quality of the leads that are coming through from your own database, as opposed to just aimlessly calling through lists. We've got hot lists of leads coming through on a every morning or whatever. When your save searches are set up to pop up of candidates that you can speak to straight away in your market that are open to work. So that's definitely been a real help with us in moving across. We have seen an improvement in fill rates. That's probably about 60% up. Okay. But we have definitely seen an improvement in fill rates. Our ability to track certain activities within the system is really good. So you've got functionalities to be able to a consultant can easily see all of their spec CV sends, for example, to then look, okay, these are the ones that I need to just work through today. Once the second version of search came in and we could then access contacts, that's when we've started to be able to get we've started to definitely get back to a rhythm of being able to get a lot more candidates in front of the right clients, basically. Because of the way that we need them to track the placements and different decisions that we have to make, and they're now starting to understand just the importance of, say, where a candidate is, how we have placed a candidate, and the impact that makes on my decisions of where we invest money. I think they're starting to see that. The way that they can search in the system, tagging the search works an awful lot better. Mm-hmm. We've got save searches set up there that the guys can utilize. It looks, when you first run a search and you go into the advanced bits, I think the consultants can look a bit like, whoa. But within 10 minutes of just really getting your head around it, it does make a lot of sense. And I think it's quite nice because it's actually relatively similar to LinkedIn, the way that it searches. So that's a platform that they're generally in most of the time, and then they can see some real consistency between the way that Mercury searches works as well. Workflows improvements, obviously the advantage of that visibility across LinkedIn, so consultants aren't tripping over one another. And you say, if you've got a consultant who's phoning a candidate, the other one's already engaged with them on LinkedIn, you've got potential challenges there. One of the biggest things that you want you guys to be able to do is ultimately search for candidates within the system and make the use of those candidates, because the cost per hire is, well, there's a cost because there's a cost of the system, but it's significantly less than what you pay for placing a candidate via LinkedIn. So I think that has definitely improved. The big thing, and I think everyone knows this with maybe it's not all recruiters, but when you go with a new system, you're going to have different levels of adoption. Like, I guess your laggards, early adopters, whatever, right? And so what we've seen is you have your experienced consultants who are generally used to a certain way of working, which has taken a little bit longer to get to grips with the system, because anything that tends to get in their way of just doing what they were doing, there's sometimes a little bit of frustration with. What we do see, though, particularly with the newer guys that have come onto the system, is they're rapid. And they can work their way around the system in a way that sometimes blows the other guys away. Just almost like what did they just do? So they're getting to grips with it really, really well. One of the goals that we set was 10x, right? We wanted to get 10 times return on investment in terms of what we put in to the system and what we can get out in terms of placements. I think probably from a 6 month to I guess 18, I think we'll start to see that, particularly with the LinkedIn and ATS integration now alerting us to candidates that we can find in the system and then contact on a daily basis, and our ability to search much easier and find candidates that are suitable for opportunities we've got on the system. They were really good. They were really good. I'd never personally dealt with a migration before, so I was project lead, sponsor, everything, to basically oversee the whole thing. And whilst it was a big thing. It was a big thing to do. The support throughout, really, really good. So no, I can't really fault the the assistance with the implementation was really, really good. From dealing with the different companies that we dealt with, of when we were looking at different boards, the one thing I always found with Mercury, it's really simple, but it's easy to deal with. Really, really easy to deal with. So from a point of discussing the product at the time, flexibility to make a deal work for us, given a relatively unique situation that we were in at that particular time, I had the proposal to stay with our current system, which was not particularly flexible. It would have required us to fix a really high number of users that was more than what we had at that particular time. But the guys at Mercury were super supportive and just flexible on being able to give us that little bit of leeway and assurance that if things didn't go to plan and we ended up needing to drop down in numbers, we weren't going to be committed on a load of licenses that we just weren't using. So I have to say the guys who helped get the deal together and the implementation as well were really, really good. No, it was really good. Yeah, so we spoke to. I must have had weekly catch-ups, but I think we almost got to the point where we don't need this because we're actually okay. So I can remember when we moved across in my previous business. I remember when we moved across from one system to, shall we say, one of the biggest CRM providers at the time. And I remember our handover period. And to be fair, I'm sure theirs has changed. It's probably changed now, but I because it was a little while ago. I do remember you were basically given the system. We had 3 videos. Three online sessions for an hour, and that was it. Okay. That was it. I don't remember anything else that we particularly got as consultants. So it was hell. So I was quite nervous given that experience and my role of being MD and having to manage this entire migration and then have to potentially support a load of consultants, but I didn't need to. I really didn't. I didn't need to. There's of course lots of questions and bits that come up, and anyone who thinks a migration, migrating a system, is just going to be completely plain sailing, I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It doesn't happen. There's always going to be challenges in particular people that are resistant to change and all of that sort of stuff. So it is always going to be challenging. But the team were really, really supportive, and they've continued to be really, really supportive throughout. Whenever there's an issue, support are really, really, really quick. I'll get calls from the US if I put a ticket through at 4:00 on a Friday, I might be driving home in the car and they're phoning me at 5:30 on the way back to talk about this and that they're going to get it sorted. So the support. The whole support for Mercury is, to be fair, it's been second to none. We're probably about four on sites, but then Sonny's always been he's pretty much, unless he's on annual leave or whatever, but he's pretty much always been available when I've just messaged him about certain things, or if he needs to point me in the right area, he'll give me the answer, but here's the article that you need if you need it for future reference. But he's come down on site. A few lunches, always nice, because there are some parts that are a little bit more complex than others. Like getting the dashboard set up is that takes some getting your head around. He's helped with that when he's come down. So no, that has been, yes, and it has been really, really good. Yes, I would. Yeah, definitely. I think I'd recommend it for the reasons of why we opted to go with Mercury in the first place, and that is that if you want a CRM partner that seemed to be very entrepreneurial themselves and growing and very supportive, flexible with how you can work with them. I think with any system you're always going to have challenge. It is a system, it is a database. It's very hard to get a system without paying millions and millions of pounds that is going to be perfectly set up for you. So you have to accept that there's some things that are going to work great, there's some things that you're going to have to work with. But everything that we have had a challenge with pretty much has changed. now in that time frame, and the development and the speed of those product improvements has moved really, really quickly. And when we've been saying, where's this, like, oh, it doesn't do this, it's like, that's in the next release. So okay, at least I can say to the guys that we know that there's this frustration now, but that is coming in the next release. Vacancy search, for example, was one, and I know that they exist within other, that is there in other CRMs. It was a gap that was there in this one, but it's now not. It's there now, and that's happened pretty quickly. So I think the big thing for me is definitely the speed of which the product is improving. I think when you're communicating it to the floor, under promise and over deliver. I think maybe my experience is maybe I overpromised. Maybe I overpromised a little bit, because it is a 6-month period of which they're going to need to get to grips with it, and if you oversell it in terms of this is going to be the answer to all your problems immediately, the truth is it just won't be. So I think the communication to the floor from a change management perspective is quite important. So I wouldn't talk to them about the features, of course, talk about the rationale, why you're doing it, the potential of what it could do. Don't oversell it from the beginning, and let them get to grips with it, and then you can start really promoting some of the features. And then my other bit of advice, which I probably didn't do and I could have done, is pick your naysayers. Pick the people in the business that are probably going to be more resistant to change. Make them part of that process, because once they're bought in, you've pretty much resolved one of your biggest headaches right from the offset, and they can derail the whole momentum. If you don't get that right, they can derail the whole momentum of what that migration is done. If they almost drag everyone down a little bit, just this isn't working. It's like, look, if you get them involved at the very beginning, you'll find that a lot easier. So I think that is definitely a bit of advice that I would give.
Thanks for watching my chat with Chris Birtle from Capio Recruitment. If you'd like to learn more about how Mercury can help your recruitment business, head to www.wearemercury.com.